for tech to be showing this kind of rebound, it's a huge deal. We don't know whether companies are like, hey, do we tighten the belt and run and hide right now, try to weather a storm, or is it time to go out and fight and play ball? My take on it and the way we're running Co-Thrive is it's time to play ball.
Today, we're talking about the race for AI talent and the advanced degree that's most likely to make you a millionaire. But before we get into that, let's talk headlines from around the world of Orlando business. If you're looking for something fun to do with your team, Disney has just announced the dates for this year's Food and Wine Festival at Epcot, and it is a whopping 16 weeks long. It's going to kick off on July 27th and run through November 18th. Don't forget to look out for the roasted lamb chops with mint pesto and potato crunchies in Australia. Absolutely delicious. A report from chamberofcommerce.org ranks Orlando at number 21 on a list of cities with the highest percentage of self-employed within the city's workforce. The study analyzed U.S. Census Bureau data in 170 of the most populated cities. The top 3 cities on the list are our neighbors to the south, Hialeah, Miami, and Hollywood, Florida. If you haven't already started considering how you can leverage 1099 and freelance labor in your company, this study proves that your competitors are probably beating you to the punch. Winter Park is looking for new proposals on some primo real estate. The former Winter Park Library, close to both Rollins College and Park Avenue, is looking for a new tenant after the City Commission voted to end negotiations with Harbert Realty Services in February. Harbert wanted to convert the 33,000 square foot building into 2 floors of co-working space and ground level wellness concepts. The city is not considering the sale of the land as part of this most recent request for proposals. The third largest law firm in Orlando, Lowndes, will have a new head honcho effective February 1st, 2024. Kino Martinez will take the reins from William Diamond Jr. as its new CEO, president, and managing partner. Martinez has been with Lowndes since 2004, became a shareholder in the firm in 2008, and he will be the 4th managing partner in the firm's 55-year history. That's it for headlines. Now let's get into our story of the day with my dear friend. I was actually just at lunch with him 30 minutes ago. Blake Bozarth. Blake is the founder of Co-Thrive. It's a boutique recruiting firm for tech and analytics firms. And Blake, today I want to talk to you about an article I sent your way the other day from the Orlando Business Journal. The headline of the article is, despite layoffs, tech companies are still hiring in Florida. And with you being in the talent space, I thought you would be the perfect person to kind of jam on this article with. I'll read the intro of the article because it's got some interesting statistics in here, and then we'll jam. So the article starts, again, this was written by Devontae Davis over at Orlando Business Journal. It says, despite a string of national layoffs, the Sunshine State remains one of the top places for technology job postings nationwide. A recent report by CompTIA, the nonprofit association for the information technology industry and workforce, shows that tech jobs across the country increased with a higher volume of employer tech job postings. Telecommunications accounted for the most significant decline, losing 3,100 positions, but was offset by gains in cloud infrastructure, tech services, and software. Employer job postings for tech positions increased by 76,546 month over month to a total for March of nearly 316,000. Florida ranked number 5 in the nation for job postings with 15,300, a 4,244 increase from the previous month. And then it outlines the top cities for tech job postings last month. And Tampa was actually on that list. I think they were somewhere around like 12 or something like that. So what's your take on this, Blake?
Hey, we've been in weird economic times. Everybody can recognize that over the last year and a half. Like we've just seen a lot of uneasiness about where we're headed in the economy.
We don't know whether to use the R word. Do we say
exactly.
it? Do we not say it?
People have been throwing the R word around for the last year, and there's signs that we're either there, or we're headed there, and every time we think that, something changes, and it's like, oh well, actually this looks a little bit more positive.
Yeah.
And to me, this is great news, right? So tech has been getting hammered, and for tech to be showing this kind of rebound is actually it's a huge deal. And it's great that I think that's the macro kind of take from a national perspective, is for those of us, as we think about it as business leaders, for those of us seeing this, it's like, hey, we don't know whether companies are like, hey, do we tighten the belt and run and hide right now, try to weather a storm, or is it time to go out and fight and play ball? And my take on it and the way we're running CoThrive is it's time to play ball. And so
Yeah.
I think more and more companies are kind of seeing that. News like this kind of validates it, that maybe we're in some sort of soft landing, but this is killer news. It's great news for the economy, I think, at large, but also in the tech space. And then when you think about Florida, I'm not surprised to see Florida headlining that list, because we're a place where we've just been in such demand. Florida's always been in demand, but it's just ratcheted up like crazy over the last few years since COVID. And even if like a lot of these jobs are remote, people are flocking here in droves, and tech is a great place, it's a great industry to be able to live in a place like Florida. So
Yeah. You mentioned something, you actually mentioned this at lunch earlier today, and then you mentioned it again at the top of this call. One of the elements of this that I thought was interesting, me living in B2B marketing land with my company, Sweetfish, I'm hearing all about ChatGPT from a content creation standpoint. How can your marketing team be more efficient by leveraging ChatGPT? You are seeing this. You said you saw something from the Hustle this morning about how they had said in their newsletter, one of the surest ways to become a millionaire is to get an advanced degree in AI.
yeah,
You were talking at lunch about, hey, should this maybe be a vertical that we pursue at CoThrive, is
yeah,
helping find talent that understands this technology,
yeah,
that understands what is it, generative AI and all of
yep.
the there's a lot of different technical like components of AI that if you can become skilled at right now, you're going to be worth a lot of money, because it seems like every company is flocking to this. What's your kind of, when you read that article this morning from the Hustle, where did your mind go?
Yeah. So I mean, number one, I agree. I'm not a huge fan of traditional academic degrees, but whatever it takes to become validated and skilled in that space. I was talking about the irony of, it's like ChatGPT really came out um, during the middle of that downturn in tech,
Yeah.
right? And so it was like, hey, we had this like tech companies are getting hammered, they're laying off, and then we see the advent and the just the enormous attention and focus going towards, whoa, look at this new generative
Yeah.
AI that's on the market today. And I think what we've seen is a flurry of interest. Now, how that translates into actual value and activity is yet to be seen, but there's a flurry of interest and demand for figuring it out.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of what's driving the tech rebound even could be, hey, we've got companies are realizing they cannot be the last to the party at this, right?
Yeah.
So they can't be the last to the party, or they're done. So they're figuring out, this is not just a how can we maximize return. This is we got to be able to make sure we're the ones who stay alive, and the future is going to leverage these kind of tools. How do we do that?
Yeah.
I think it's placed a huge demand on the talent in that space. And to be totally candid, there's not enough talent in that space right now. And that's why we love it as a recruiting firm, is developing those relationships and building that network in the AI machine learning kind of experts, the people who can actually shape this, guide, help a company at maybe a leadership level figure out how to resource around it, how to do their plugins for how they equip their company to take advantage of this boon. The demand for talent, I think, is huge in that space, and we're seeing that come through.
How similar to this movement that machine learning and AI is driving right now? It feels like we've been hearing companies talk about digital transformation
Hmm.
for a decade, maybe 15 years now.
Yeah, probably a few
Is,
decades. Yeah,
is this is this just an extension of that
yeah.
of that kind of digital transformation movement, or is this an accelerator to it? What's your take there?
Gosh, that's a great question. I mean, I think it's ultimately still digital, but it's also, I think it represents a new era. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, I think it's a new era, and there's some companies that are much further behind that curve when it comes to digital transformation, quote unquote, however you want to define that,
Yeah.
right? They're on.
It's become kind of a cringy term
Yeah, it kind of has been.
with modern, I would say with like, I don't even want to say modern, but the non-behemoth tech companies that aren't so big that they can't move an
Yeah.
inch without having to go through just an enormous amount of bureaucracy, like more nimble, fast moving companies just kind of look at digital transformation and it's like, what are you talking about transformation? Like, we were born in
We were
this.
born on the cloud. Exactly.
Yeah.
We didn't ever have any of that on site old stuff. Yeah. So that's why I think it's truly a new era. And so we're all trying to figure it out. I mean, a lot of small business owners are trying to figure out, what does ChatGPT mean for them? I know we've jammed on that so much together too. And ChatGPT is just, I mean, it's the first thing, right? But there's so many other integrations and tools that can layer in with that, but also other competing technologies that are coming out. And I'm not I like, there's so much there that I think is going to have massive impacts on small business and large business. But what that means, though, especially for large business, they are seeking talent in that space, and they know if they don't have that talent, their competitors will get it and will take them out. So I think I'm very intrigued by that. And this again is my world, but I'm very intrigued by how that's going to play out over the next 5 years. But I totally agree with the hustle in that if you're somebody who has a knack for that, if you become validated in that space, whatever that looks like in terms of credentialing, gaining skills, I think you're going to be able to write your own ticket.
Yeah. I would imagine that there's going to be a whole slew of niche consultants that start coming into the market as well, that specialize specifically in like, how do you apply this type of technology
in this industry. Yes, exactly. I think we're going to see a lot of that. And my buddy Chad's on the Co-Thrive team. We were talking yesterday where we really think that it's going to become, it probably will be consultants, a lot of kind of free agent talent that's doing the actual build and design. I think you'll see a lot more of the in-house roles being leadership positions that can help a company figure out their strategy around it, that can actually help them build out a team around it, whether like a lot of that probably being more consultant based. But I think you're going to see, because there's going to be so few people, I think, that are going to be really experts in that domain. They're going to be so in demand that I think it's going to be hard to get a lot of them in-house, honestly.
Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. Well, Blake, thank you so much for joining us on this segment of Orlando Business.
Thanks for having me.
How can listeners stay connected with you?
I'd love to connect on LinkedIn. Find me there, Blake Bozarth.
Love it. Thanks a lot, my man. All right, let's get into my favorites, the segment of the show where I talk about my favorite people, places, and things. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about my go-to lunch spot, oftentimes my go-to dinner spot for Lisa and I. And it's Clean Eats, Eats with a Z. There are 3 locations across Orlando, one in Orlando proper, Claremont, and Winter Garden in my backyard. Our family walks there, again, probably every day, at least once. What I love about Clean Eats, I mean, Clean Eats has legitimately transformed my health. And I was starting to try to eat healthier, but even when you try to eat healthy at like a millionaire house or like a Ford's Garage, I used to go to Ford's a lot. They cook their food with a lot of oil. There's a lot of preservatives in it, and it makes sense, right? Based on their model, but Clean Eats doesn't do that. There's no oil in the place. Everything that you eat is super clean. You can actually get very specific on the macros of every single thing on the menu. And the thing that I think makes it stand out from a business model perspective is you can go in and you can get frozen meals. You can get frozen pizzas. They've got these incredible cauliflower pizzas. Or you can also eat in the restaurant at their cafe. And so you can order from the cafe. They've got, like I do a build your own bowl all the time. I get chicken and broccoli and carrots and, wheat pasta, and you can build your own bowl. They've got burgers that are delicious. The Epic sauce is my absolutely favorite sauce at Clean Eats. If it goes on their sweet potato fries they're air fried, only have like 176 calories in it. They've got flatbreads. They've got kids meals. My son always gets their cauliflower like chicken nugget things with some apple slices. So my family and I absolutely love Clean Eats. If you go to the one in Winter Garden, tell Anthony, the owner, that James sent you. I love this place. The business model, I think, is brilliant because you can go in and get frozen meals, frozen pizzas. So when I don't want to get out of the house and actually go to Clean Eats, I've got a boatload of meals in my freezer here at home. But when I want to meet up with friends, when I just want to get out of the house, I can go and I can actually enjoy the cafe. I can and actually being outside and out of the house. So anyway, all that to say, Clean Eats, absolutely check it out if you have not already. And that's it for today's episode of Orlando Business.